Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk about attacking the legs or the lower quadrant with polearm fighting. Okay, so I've done a number of polearm videos, but I wanted to do a video that kind of specializes on this, and I'm going to talk about polearm versus polearm, or two-handed weapon versus two-handed weapon. I'm going to talk about polearm versus a shield, and I'm also going to talk about polearm versus any two-weapon form. Okay, so when it comes to attacking the legs with a pole, okay, the issue with attacking the legs is, first of all, the distance going across is shorter than the distance diagonal. Okay, so that's one of the risks, or something that we got to be aware of. That from here, like, I can reach that tree over there, but down here I fall short. So the issue there is that as we're attacking somebody's legs, what they can do is they can just step back and then basically just hit us in the head. Okay, so that's the risk. Okay, now for that reason, lots of people that fight with either pole arms or two-handed swords, like, almost never attack the low legs or the lower quadrant. Okay, so by lower quadrant I mean the hip area. So my thinking is that it's not something that I think that you want to do frequently. Okay, because people are going to turn that around on you. They're going to take advantage of that distance relationship. But it is something that you want to have in your bag of tricks, because for the reason that everybody kind of knows that, hey, attacking the low legs or the low quadrant is dangerous, right? They don't expect you to do it. So anytime people don't expect you to do something, it opens up the opportunity for you to do that thing. Okay, so, like, it's not something that I want to do regularly. I don't want it to be something that people expect me to do, but it is something I want to be able to do. Okay, so the way I will do it, right, usually from a high guard, where I'm basically pointing this towards the face, right? From there, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically just drop the head of the pole. Now, as I do this, I'm basically covering my head. Now, I may end up coming short, right? Because if I extend my arms fully, I get more reach. Whereas if I'm like this, I lose even more reach. Okay, but a lot of times if I'm attacking that lower quadrant, it's actually not meant to hit anything. A lot of times I'm just kind of targeting their gauntlets, right? Because that's going to basically kind of catch them off guard. They don't know that I wasn't really intending to hit them, but they are going to block it. They're going to start thinking about that lower quadrant. They may shift their guard to defend that lower quadrant, and now that's going to open up opportunities. So against another polearm, okay, the primary way that I use attacking the lower quadrant, okay, is really as a fake or distraction. All right, so if I'm here, I'm kind of out of range, I'll just drop. Okay, maybe I hit him, maybe I don't, right? Maybe I'm out of range. From here, I am blocking my head. What they're probably doing now is they're probably looking at the head of my axe, which is low, or maybe they're attacking my head, in which case it's blocked. And from here, I'm in a prime position to just basically follow up with a thrust, okay, or I can follow up with a cut to that side, right? But from here, I can flip it over, and I'm ready to cut there. Now, again, what I do depends on what they will do, okay? But it's going to open up new opportunities, because a lot of times with two-handed weapon fighting, right, whether it's pole arms or two-handed swords, all the fighting, all the attacking, all the defending is up here. There's like almost nothing going on down here. And by occasionally threatening that lower quadrant, okay, that's gonna open up new lines, because they're going to guard that lower quadrant. They're most likely gonna do something, right? Because if they don't do something, I mean, this can also turn into a low line thrust. Okay, so that's the other possibility. So here, and it's really easy. I'm just kind of letting that head drop. Okay, I'm just letting that head drop. So that kind of like self-powers the shot. Okay, and I'm kind of like rotating on my arm here, so I can very easily bring this around. So I'm in a position to attack 3 quadrants. I can attack here, I can attack here, I can attack here. So by dropping it here, I can come back and attack on the left side, right? Or I can come back and I can just attack the same side, you know, up high. So, you know, or from here, I can come up to a thrust, you know, either a low line thrust or a high line thrust. It just opens up a lot of opportunities. So it's something that you want to practice, you know, both on a Pel, introduce it into a fight, see how your opponents react, and you know, and just build around it, you know. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be a shot that's going to kill, or I even expect it to kill. A lot of times, especially if I want to play it safe, I can basically bring it into the gauntlets, right into their hands here, where I'm really not expecting to get a hit, even if it hits their, you know, even if it hits their gauntlets. That's not going to count for anything. But again, that's going to open up new opportunities. Okay, so something for you guys to work in, and it's really easy cut, right, from here, right, regardless what kind of a guard. Even if you take a high guard, you're just dropping it. You're defending your head. Okay, you might, you know, when you're defending your head like that, you're gonna shorten your reach even more. But it's really not costing you that much, and like I said, it's opening up new opportunities, you know, to attack different areas. Okay? Now, so that's it. That's against a polearm, right? How about against the shield? So against the shield, now there's different rule sets out there. Okay, in some rule sets, they don't hit above the. Basically, all the hits have to be above the knee, right? In some rule sets, in other rule sets, the entire lower leg is a target area up to the ankle. So there's different rule sets out there. In some rule sets, one good blow is a killing blow. In other rule sets, you got to get 3 consecutive blows, or 3, or a total of 3 blows. And this is important, right? Especially against a shieldman, because from the perspective of the shieldman, I mean, what's the shieldman trying to do? The shieldman wants to come in, basically stuff your weapon with his shield, right? You know, if he can get his shield between your 2 hands, right, and it's really hard for you to swing this, he's got a free weapon where he can kill you with. Okay, so that's usually what a shieldman wants to do. With the exception, I sometimes find is if there's like a big size disparity. So if you have if you got a big person with a pole and you got a small person with a shield, in that case, they're going to want to keep a little bit more distance. Okay, but in general, most shieldmen are going to come in and they're going to try and stuff your weapon, you know, with their shield, and then try to hit you in the area that's free. So as a polearm guy, what you basically, as they're closing in, right, if the entire lower leg is a target area, you kind of have to take that free shot, right? So as they're closing in, you got to take that shot at the low leg. Okay, maybe they depending on the size, shape of the shield, they may have to punch block it, but you kind of have to take that shot, because from the if it's let's say 3 counted blows, from their perspective, again, this is kind of gaming the system. They are able to come in and basically sacrifice that 1 hit, right? So basically, you hit them, you get them in the leg. Okay, so great, you got 1 hit. Now, if they come in and they stuff your weapon, right, they can very quickly get off 3 shots. Okay, so you know, any trained shieldman, you know, he can really quickly get off 3 shots. So they sacrifice that 1 shot, and you know, with the hopes of basically machine gunning you with 3 quick shots. Okay, so that's where the whole body is a target area. Now, from the perspective of the polearm, okay, again, you kind of have to take that free shot. Now, you can kind of lead up with a face shot, right? Face shot, then to the leg, okay? Hopefully you get that 1 point. You have to anticipate that after you take that free shot, okay, they're gonna close in. It's gonna turn into a very close fight, okay? You kind of have to anticipate. Ideally, I do want to try and maintain my distance. So if I have the ability to back up, right, and take 1, 2, 3 shots, by all means do it, right? If you can get 3 quick shots to that low leg and win the fight, do it, because once that shield gets in close on you, you know, the odds really favor the shield, okay? It's going to be hard for you to separate and be able to free your weapon. Now, I have covered I've done other videos where I talk about what to do when you're in that situation. So let's say I get that shot, maybe they block it, maybe I hit it, whatever it is. From here, if they're running in on me, right? I mean, yeah, great. I'm trying to maintain my distance. I'm backing up. They're going to be able to run forward a lot faster than you can run backwards in most cases. So you have to anticipate that the very next shot is going to land, and it's going to be somewhere on your, you know, if they're right-handed, it'll be on your left side. If they're left-handed, it'll be on your right side. So they're going to take the easy shot over here. So what you guys do is after you take that leg shot, anticipate that shot landing over here and come up here ready to block it, okay? Take the block, and then from there, follow up with the tail, okay? And I've covered this in another video. And basically what you need to do is you need to pin their sword with the tail against their body, okay? You have to disrupt this sword so that it can't swing, okay? So once you get that disruption with the tail, right, you know, now you're in a position to, you know, come basically from there, come on over the top, or come up with the back edge, you know, but you need to control their sword with your tail. Now the chances are that if you really are tying them up, at that point they may decide that they don't want to be that close to you, and they may separate, in which case now you got, you know, more opportunity to hit that low leg, okay? So there's some things for you guys to think about. And now that's specific to rule sets where the low leg is a target area. Now, in another game that I play, the low leg is not a target area, right? The hits have to be above the knee, and they fight to 1 good blow. Okay? So what that does is now it takes away the shieldsman's ability to sacrifice that 1 hit, right? Because you can't hit him below the knee, but if you get that hit, basically, you know, it's either lagged or it's a killing blow, depending, you know, sometimes they do two blows to the leg, whatever it is, but that blow is really going to count, right? That's going to either knock them out of the fight, immobilize their leg, whatever it is. So they need to block that leg. They cannot sacrifice that hit, so they're going to be a lot more conscious about blocking that leg. So aside from that, now we're back to the, you know, as soon as they close in, get that tail in play. Use that tail to basically control the weapon, right? Maybe even push it down, and now you're in a position to come over the top. And the nice thing about, like, polearms, especially the type that have an axe head, this has a little bit of depth, so this can reach behind the shield, right? So it's possible for them to block this with the shield, and maybe you still get that hit. And so again, I've covered other videos about fighting. I've done other videos about fighting with polearms against shield. I just kind of wanted to focus on that one aspect of attacking the legs. Now, in the rule set where the hits have to be above the knee, right? Usually they're gonna have that leg pretty well covered from the front, okay? But if you can get just to the side a little bit, right? Especially if they have like a heater shield or a kite shield, something that comes down to a fine point. That's where, like, you know, if you can get to the side, you've got a little bit, you know, I mean, there's a good chance you're going to get that leg behind the shield. And what I'll usually do in that case is open up with a thrust to that side, then step off to the side and take that leg, okay? So the combo is, as they're coming in, thrust there, and then from there come back to your guard, because they're gonna throw over here, right? If you don't knock them out of the fight, you can anticipate as soon as you throw that leg shot, or for that matter, as soon as you throw any shot, right, that's blocked, there's an incoming blow, and the shieldman is going to take the easiest shot, because against the pole there's just so much that's open, so it's not likely they're going to go to this side over here, to the off side. Most likely it's going to be something on this side over here, so you can kind of anticipate where that shot's going to land. Okay, so thrust, one of the benefits there is that they might blind themselves, right, as they defend that block. Side step, leg, then get back into your guard, anticipate an incoming blow, step in with your tail, you know, and continue your fight from there. Okay, so that's polearm versus shields. Now, how about polearm versus two weapons? Okay, and usually it's going to be two sword, but you know, it could be like a sword and Madu, it could be like a sword and axe. You know, there's all sorts of different combinations. So, you know, anytime you have a guy that has a sword, right, even like two of these, I mean, these are very thin and they're fairly short. The thing that they're most susceptible to, right, the thing that they kind of fear the most is the thrust, okay? That thrust is extremely effective, and, you know, a lot of times if you catch this up high, this has the ability to push that tip back. Now, with the two sword guy, against the polearm, they pretty much need to block with the forte, right? So they're trying to block from here to here. This is the area that they're trying to block with, okay, when they have two weapons. So again, this is where we can use those the leg cuts to open up opportunities, right? Because regardless of whether if the attack is coming up here, they got to block high, right? Even if it's a thrust, they gotta block with this, right? Even if they got two weapons, a lot of times they'll double them up like this, but they need to block with this part here, because this part is going to give too much. So if you're either cutting or thrusting, right, up here, they got to bring the forte up here. If you're cutting or thrusting down here, they got to bring the forte down here, right? So wherever you're attacking, this is the part that they got to block with, where they've got some strength. So again, if you're only attacking up high or thrusting up high, they can just keep their weapons up here and they don't have to worry about going down there. If you show them, right, if you know, especially if you open up with a guard like this, where you are basically aiming this right at their hip. And one of the nice things now about the two swords, because they got the shorter weapon, right, we can basically do a thrust, but we don't have to worry about blocking our head, because they can't reach our head at max distance. So we can use our max range and basically go straight into the hip area, okay? And that's not going to force them to bring their swords down to try to block, okay? So same deal with that. From this low line thrust, you know, I can turn that, I can threaten low, threaten high. There's the leg cut. Maybe it never even makes contact, and that's fine. That's one of the things that you need to practice, right? So from here, right, no contact, thrust high, right? No contact, cut high. No contact, cut high, okay? No contact, cut high. So practice no contact, right, where I actually whiff, right? So that can be part of your drill, where you don't make any contact. Get used to that, okay? And from there, practice going into your next cut, okay? Because now, you know, now they've got to defend everything from here all the way down to there. And like I said, they have to use this part of the sword. So now this part of the sword got to be here, it's got to be here, it's got to cover a lot of area. Okay, so that's the, you know, that's using the leg cuts against a two weapon person. Now if you get somebody that has, let's say, a Madu, or basically, let's say, anything where, because here, this is the weak point of this, right? So if you hit this up here, this thing's gonna move. Here, I can turn my body into it, right? Into the cut, so I'm a lot stronger here. Here, even if I turn my body into the cut, this is just gonna snap back. Well, if you got somebody that's holding this upside down, or whatever it is, even if it's something that, here you can see that the weak part is down here, right? So now again, if they wanna block the leg, they need to bring this part down low, right? Because if they just try, like again, like if they're fighting another sword and shield guy, yeah, maybe they can use this part to block a sword cut. But against the pole, they have to get this area down there so they can block that. So and maybe they're aware of it, maybe they're not. If they're not, let them know. Let them know. What I mean by that is let them know by hitting them down there, okay, right? And as soon as you hit them with a pole, right, because now this is a mass weapon, if they don't bring this down, what's going to happen is that's going to get, that's going to get bent, and it's just going to get snapped back, and they're going to get hit. Okay, so they're going to figure out really fast that they need to bring the strong part of the sword or whatever they've got all the way down there. They're fighting two swords like this. Now they got to bring this whole thing down there. One option is, let's say they try to, if they're cutting down, right? Again, they can't. It's really hard to cut down against the pole and block it with this part. They need to get this. Now, sometimes they might need to step into it, right? So that's one of the things that they can employ, because with the pole or with any weapon, right? Like once this thing starts moving here, this has picked up a lot of momentum, right? But while it's here, it's still in the process of accelerating. So this is, if you're going for a leg cut, this is a lot easier for a two-sword guy to block here, right? So them moving in and trying to try to stuff this here, right? They're going to be more successful than if they stay out there and they allow this thing to, get that full momentum and strike at that point. Okay, so now two-sword guys, kind of same idea as a sword and shield guy. From their perspective, they've got two weapons. Okay, should have brought out another sword, but whatever. They got a sword in each hand. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get in on you, right? They want to close that distance quickly, and essentially get one weapon on your pole and then hit you with the other. Okay, so they want to tie up your one weapon with one of their weapons and then hit you with the other. Now, initially they might, if they think there's a really strong incoming blow, they might double up the two swords. Okay, an experienced two-sword guy is going to know which sword is free, right? So if this one is leading and the other one's backing up here, okay, that's the one that's going to make contact. As soon as they stuff, now this one is going to come out and it's going to start striking while this maintains contact. If it's the other way around, where let's say this one leads, let's say the attack's coming on this side, this one leads, so this one's behind, so now this one stays on the weapon, and so they're going to be aware of which is going to be their free weapon once they stuff you. Okay, that's something that that's something that a two-sword guy specializes in. Okay, so you're, as a polearm guy, one of your greatest advantages is that distance, right? You've got that distance. Use it. You want to maintain that distance. If the polearm, if the two-sword guy, when he gets close, right, the thing that they're gonna now fear the most is the butt spike. Okay, so I've done other videos where I talk about this in detail. Once they get in, and let's say you make that cut, whether it's a leg cut or a head cut, they block it, and now they're closing in. You're backing up to try and maintain space. The fastest thing that you can do from here, and then two, okay? So you can cut one step out by using that thrust. And a lot of times, even if they're out of range, right? Because a lot of times as they're closing in, or if I want to keep them back, because a lot of times they're looking at the head over here, right? A lot of times I'll just show them this. If you just show them this, like all of a sudden, like that is a complete distraction for them, because now all of a sudden they're like almost terrified of this, because they really weren't thinking about this end too much. And while they're looking with that at that, you know, now you're in position to either strike there or just turn it into a leg cut. Okay, so a few things for you guys to think about. But yeah, you definitely want to practice low cuts, lower quadrant cuts with your polearm. Okay, one of the things that's also important, let me add this, with these low cuts, right? Don't try to stop the motion with your muscles. Okay, so for example, from here, like because remember that mass has head. If I try to stop this here, that's really torquing my bicep a lot, and with polearm, I find that it's very easy to torque your bicep if you're trying to like stop it or bring it back or misdirect it. So with polearms, again, I did a separate video on this. What I want to do is I want to let this go all the way out. So the only thing that's going to stop the motion is either the opposing weapon or my, basically I'm going to fully extend my arms, and that's going to stop it. Basically, my arm is going to come to its natural extension. Okay, I'm not going to try and stop this midway. Okay, so that I think I have found that that's a really important thing to just be aware of. Don't try to stop the motion midway, because that is going to torque the crap out of your bicep. So let this go all the way, and then from there you can, redirect. Okay? So let me know what you guys think. Drop some comments. I'll talk to you soon.